So, time to put on your tinfoil hats, guys, and hunker down for another strange stories. And it's based on real reports between Loomis and Auburn that lit Lincoln on fire with speculation. It's the night that the sky went weird, or rather the 1978 Loomis-Auburn UFO flap. Just as a quick off-ramp, the word flap comes from old newspaper slang. It's just this sudden cluster of calls coming in for UFOs in the same region over a short period of time. So, a bunch of people call in, that's a flap. So tonight, I want you to imagine yourself driving home on a weeknight, late February 1978. You're on Highway 193, somewhere between Lincoln and Loomis, and the radio is playing a mix of Waylon Jennings and AM static. It's quiet outside. It's dark. Just another normal Lincoln night in 1978. And then somebody looks up into the dark sky and sees something that absolutely does not belong there. Bright lights, right? Too bright to be stars and too low to be planets, moving in ways that nothing is in the sky is supposed to move, especially back then, right? So, it starts with a couple of people in Loomis, then a woman driving along Interstate 80 sees it too, and within hours, the word spreads and the entire area was peeking out their windows, looking towards the sky. So by the next morning, the local papers are using a phrase nobody around here expected to see, which is a UFO flap. And every single person in Lincoln, Loomis, Auburn, Virginia town, and everyone living under that same wide Placer County sky starts asking the same question. What in the heck did we see? So let's roll the clock back to the night of February 22nd, 1978. Which was a night where the sky over our little corner of California went kind of, weird. We'll explore the sightings, the witnesses, the Cold War shadows, and the giant mysterious elephant in the room, which is Beale Air Force Base. And then, as always, we'll wrap up with a solid reality check. What's the fact, what's the legend, and what's still unexplained. So, let's step back into the world of 1978. Lincoln is a small town. Loomis is even smaller. Auburn is the big town on the hill with the courthouse and the hospital. There are no smartphones, no internet. If the sky does something strange, you can't post a video of it. You call the radio station, you call the paper, you call your neighbors and say, go outside and look up, and the culture was absolutely primed for UFOs, right? So Star Wars came out the year before, Close Encounters had just hit theaters a few months earlier. People everywhere were already looking towards the sky with new curiosity. Meanwhile, the Cold War is humming along, right, at full volume. Spy satellites, secret aircraft, a world full of classified technology. And tucked away, in the hills just north of Lincoln is Beale Air Force Base, home to some of the strangest and most advanced aircraft ever built. But we'll get into Beale in a little bit. For now, our story begins with our quiet little neighbor to the east, which is Loomis. It's a Wednesday night, February 22nd, around 10 p.m. The sky is clear, cool, still. A man steps out to let his dog out one last time for the evening, and he's standing on the porch, breathing in, the crisp, almost winter air. He glances up at the stars. At first, everything looks normal, and then he sees it, just looking up, a light, a bright, too bright actually, moving sideways, stopping, brightening up, then jerking to another spot in the sky. He narrows his eyes, he watches it longer, another light joins in. He's trying to figure out what the heck it is, maybe two, maybe more. He can't explain it, but he knows one thing, that is no plane up there. Meanwhile, a woman is driving home alone up Interstate 80, heading east, just past Rockland Road, almost getting to the Loomis exit, right? It's late, the freeway is dead quiet. She glances up and there it is, right? Just a bright light hovering over her, over her left, over the Loomis Basin, right? Not drifting like a helicopter, not flying like a jet, nothing like that. Just kind of sitting there. So then it moves, not forward, not backwards, but sideways, right? And then straight up out of sight, just poof, vanishes. She grips the wheel of her car, her heart jumps, she keeps looking at the sky until the road curves and she loses sight of it. She goes home and tells someone, and they tell someone else, and by morning the story spreads. If you were working at the Loomis News or the Auburn Journal back then, the next day you'd find a stack of messages on your desk. People saw lights, multiple people, multiple places, same time, same general part of the sky. No single dramatic encounter, no landed saucers, just bright, strange lights moving unnatural ways over the Loomis Basin. Reporters write it up, a cluster of UFO sightings, a possible UFO flap, and just like that, the story becomes part of our local history. One witness is even named it, he was even named in later summaries, right? So Loomis resident who went on record describing what he saw, right? This wasn't whispers or rumor. People spoke publicly about it, That's how many people saw it. It wasn't like, you're crazy, what'd you see? And the Valley talked, right? A lot. So Lincoln didn't have its own dramatic sighting that night, at least not one that made the paper along with Loomis and Auburn. But we shared the same sky, and people in Lincoln definitely heard about it. At work, at the grocery store, standing outside the gas station, you know exactly how these conversations go, right? Because we still have them today. Some folks were excited, some skeptical, kids were terrified, but also thrilled at the same time. And that's when the theories began. Now, let's talk about Beale, because if you want a down-to-earth explanation, this is where you start out. So it's in the late 70s. Beale Air Force Base was home to the 9th Reconnaissance Wing. They operated the U-2 Dragon Lady, a jet-powered glider that flies at insane altitudes. Like, it's actually an ugly little bird, but, you could take it up to what most people would consider outer space. I mean, it's wild. And then also the SR-71 Blackbird, which is just a sleek, black, needle-nosed aircraft that can hit Mach 3 and cruise above 80,000 feet. These are incredible machines. At those heights, the sky turns dark, the curvature of the earth becomes visible, lights behave strangely, and the U.S. aircraft do things that normal planes simply can't do. Even the CIA and the DIA admits that high-altitude spy planes caused a major spike in UAP reports across the country at that time. People weren't used to seeing planes that high or that fast or that bright. So could the 1978 lights have been reflections off of U-2's wings or an SR-71 churning far above the valley? Sure, why not? Could it have been atmospheric distortion? Yeah. Could it have been planets clustered in the sky? It's possible. The stars and the planets were bright and clustered that week. Could it have been something else, right? Well, that's exactly why we're here talking about it. The best part of this story isn't the lights, it's the people. Because whenever something strange happens in a town, we learn a lot about each other. Some people stayed up the next night waiting to see if the lights came back. Some drove out to dark country roads with friends, just hoping to catch a glimpse. Some refused to talk about it because aliens made them uncomfortable. And some, let's be honest, loved every minute of it. I would. In 1978, for one brief moment, the whole Loomis Basin and everyone living under it was looking at the same sky with the same mixture of wonder and uncertainty. Okay, reality check time. So let's separate the fact from the storytelling. What we know for sure is multiple people in Loomis and Auburn reported strange lights in the sky on the night of February 22nd, 1978. A woman driving on Interstate 80 reported them too. Local papers treated it as if it was a genuine UFO flap. At least one Loomis resident gave his name publicly, describing the sighting. The night sky had bright planets and the moon all clustered together that night. Beale Air Force Base was actively flying U-2s, SR-71 Blackbirds, as part of their ISR missions. The DIA and the CIA has confirmed that spy planes triggered a lot of UAP reports at the time. So those are the facts, right? What's plausible but not confirmed, the lights may have been high-altitude military aircraft. That's very plausible. They may have been atmospheric conditions making stars, look strange. They may have been misidentified natural lights, or they may be something else altogether, right? I can tell you that our U.S. Space Force guardians who live here in town keep a secret like a brick wall and confession booth. I've asked those folks if aliens are real, but not even a whisper or a wink, just a slippery turnabout, which is a polite social cue to stop asking, so I do. So what's just storytelling, right? The detailed inner thoughts of the witnesses, right? The dramatized porch scenes, any message or meaning behind the lights. But even with all that said, something did happen. Enough people saw it that made the papers, and enough people talked about it that it remained in local memory for decades. So that's what makes a great strange story though, right? So here's how I'd like to end this one. When you talk outside at night, look up, right? That same sky, that one that hangs over Lincoln, Loomis, Auburn, Virginia town hasn't changed much since 1978. And the funny thing is people are still seeing things up there, right? Lights, shapes, strange movements. Just a couple of years ago, I remember there was a big thing buzzing around town, how we saw a bunch of strange lights, and Beale came out and said they were drones, but it's kind of interesting. So maybe it's planes, maybe it's planets, maybe it's something we can explain, or maybe it's something we just haven't figured out yet. So whatever it is, if you see something weird, you know exactly where to take it, right? So, hey, thanks for watching another strange story of Lincoln, guys. Keep your eye out for the next episode and stay tuned. This was just our first of our UFO episodes. So next time we're doing a little digging a little deeper into the dirt to explore a case that's a whole lot stranger than this one. So if you like this one, share it on YouTube with someone who cares about our town or simply likes storytelling. So as always, I'm Mike Crossfield, a local business owner trying to build a better Lincoln together. Good night, everybody.